Dr. Myra Ella stood on the wide marble terrace overlooking the crystal gardens. Morning light danced on the polished stone. Her heart felt calm as she inhaled the soft scent of glowing flowers. She came here to study the royal language of the Aurelians, but she never expected today to bring so much more than research notes. The palace was grand and silent, save for the distant hum of energy fields. Mira wrapped her arms around herself, feeling both excitement and a gentle nervousness. In her chest, ahead, Prince Solvan leaned against a carved balustrade. He watched the twin suns rise, his tall frame still and quiet. Mira had seen him many times through translation screens and formal meetings. He was noble, proud, and always perfectly in control. Now, seeing him in this private moment made her pulse quicken. She wondered what thoughts passed through his mind. As the sun's light touched his violet skin and silver hair, gathering courage, Mira walked forward. Each step echoed softly on the marble floor. The weight of her translator pack felt heavy on her shoulders, but she forced a smile. When she reached the prince, she took a gentle breath. "How's your day?" she asked, her voice warm and casual. She tried to sound friendly, as if she spoke to a neighbor or a friend. In her mind, she hoped her words would be kind enough to reach beyond the palace walls. Solvan turned swiftly, his eyes wide and bright. He blinked once, twice, as if surprised by her question. His lips parted, then closed. Mira held her breath. The prince of an alien world was silent. She felt worry rise. Had she offended him? Did she break some strict royal rule? Her heart squeezed. At the thought, she took a small step back, bracing herself for a formal reprimand. Instead, the prince opened his mouth and spoke slowly, softly, and with a gentle stammer that caught Mira completely off guard. I am. Well, he began, then paused. His voice wavered like a young child learning to walk. Mira's heart melted at the sound. She felt a tender warmth spread through her. Here was royalty, usually formal and distant, now vulnerable and uncertain, thanks to her simple question. A shy smile curved the corners of Solvan's lips. He swallowed and tried again. "My day is brighter," he finished, his voice steadying, "because of your presence." Mira's breath caught in her throat. The words were simple, but honest. She felt color rise to her cheeks, and a soft thrill danced in her chest. The palace, the suns, even the distant gardens seemed to glow with new meaning. Mira returned his smile, her own voice soft. "I'm glad," she said. "I find this place brighter, too." Silence settled around them, but it was not heavy. It was full of possibility. The twin suns climbed higher, bathing the terrace in warm light. Mira and Solvan stood side by side, two strangers from different worlds, sharing a quiet moment that felt like the start of something special. As they stood together, Mira realized that her simple question had done more than ask about the prince's day. It had opened a door. In that moment, she knew their story was just beginning. The voice you selected does not support this language. Please click the upper right corner to switch to another voice. Mira sat at her polished workstation late into the Aurelian evening. Soft lanterns glowed around her, and the gentle hum of data drives filled the air. She replayed the morning's exchange again and again, listening to the prince's shy stammer. Each hesitation and soft breath carried more meaning than a dozen formal speeches. She leaned forward, her heart thudding with excitement and curiosity, as she carefully transcribed every nuance into her notes. Across the hall, Prince Solvan paced in his private chamber. Moonlight streamed through tall, arched windows, casting silver patterns on the marble floor. He touched the carved walls, as if grounding himself. He felt both pride and embarrassment at his own words. He wished he had spoken more smoothly, but he also felt a spark of warmth when he spoke to Mira. For the first time, he understood that conversation could be more than duty, could be connection. The next morning, Mira delivered her first set of translation notes to the High Council's Linguistics Division. She explained how Solvan's stammer was not a weakness, but a sign of his sincerity. She pointed out the gentle rise and fall of his tones, and how his pauses showed thoughtfulness. Her colleagues nodded politely, but Myra could sense their doubt. Royals, they thought, must always be perfect. Myra believed that imperfection made him real, and she would prove it. Meanwhile, Solvin debated with his senior tutor, Lady Ravi. The tutor insisted the prince practice only formal court speech. She frowned at his mention of Mira and her informal greetings. Royal dignity demands perfection, Lady Ravi lectured. Solvin looked down at his hands, toes curling against the cool floor. He took a steadying breath. I wish to learn something different, he said quietly. I wish to speak from the heart. Word came that Mira would offer optional conversation. Lessons to the prince, outside formal hours. Solvin felt a surge of relief. He dressed quickly in a simple tunic, less ornate than usual court robes, and made his way to the translation quarters. His pulse hammered as he approached the closed door. He paused, smoothing his hair, and knocked softly. Mira's voice called him in. Inside, the room glowed with holographic language charts and comfortable seating. Mira stood when he entered, offering a welcoming smile. Good morning, she said warmly. It felt strange at first to greet a prince like a friend, but Mira had learned that kindness invited truth. Solvin bowed slightly, then lifted his head, said good morning in halting common tongue. His voice trembled a little, but Mira's encouraging nod inspired him. They sat facing each other across a low table. Mira placed 2 cups of tea between them, one steaming with Earth's jasmine blend, the other with a sweet Aurelian nectar. Let's try something simple today, she suggested softly. She slid a small stack of phrase cards toward him. The first card read, It's nice to see you. Solvin studied the words, then spoke, It's nice to see you. His pauses created a gentle rhythm, and Mira smiled as she repeated the phrase more fluidly. Each new phrase felt like a small victory. They practiced greetings, questions, and expressions of feeling. When Solvin said, I enjoy spending time with you, his voice gained confidence, and his violet eyes shone. Mira felt a tender joy bloom in her chest. She realized that helping him find his voice was more than research. It was a gift they shared. After an hour, they paused. Solvin leaned back, stretching his tall form. Thank you, he said softly. I feel lighter. Mira nodded, her own heart light. She asked, Do you have any questions for me? He considered, then smiled shyly. What is your favorite Earth custom? His question was simple, but rich with meaning. Mira's eyes brightened, and she began to describe Earth's simple joys. Walking in rain, sharing stories by campfires, laughter that needed no ceremony as Mira spoke. Solvin listened intently, absorbing every detail. The palace beyond their window felt distant. Here, in this quiet room filled with gentle words and honest smiles, 2 strangers from different worlds built a bridge. Mira felt proud of him, and Solvin felt gratitude for her patience. Neither knew how their friendship might shape the future, but each small lesson brought them closer. When their time ended, Solvin bowed once more and left with a promise. Tomorrow, I will try to speak more freely. Myra watched him go, her heart swelling with hope. In that shared promise, they found something deeper than language trust. And as the door closed softly behind him, Mira whispered to the empty room, Yes, this is only the beginning. Myra rose before dawn the next day, her thoughts already on the afternoon lesson with Prince Solvin. She dressed in comfortable robes rather than her usual formal attire, hoping to set a relaxed tone. As she walked through the quiet corridors of the palace, soft lantern light guided her steps. She felt a flutter of excitement in her chest. Today's lesson would be different and Tunder, the bioluminescent canopy of the Royal Conservatory, where glowing vines draped overhead like stars in a night sky. Prince Solvin arrived exactly at the appointed hour, dressed in a simple tunic. That looked almost like a scholar's robe. He held a small notebook and a slender quill. His usual regal posture was softened by anticipation. When Mira greeted him, he managed a steady bow, but his violet eyes shone with something new warmth. Rather than formality, Mira returned his bow and led him into the conservatory, where clusters of glowing orchids and soft humming plants formed a hidden world. They settled at a low table carved from white jade, its surface smooth and cool. 2 cups of steaming tea waited, their aromas blending Earth's jasmine with Aurelian starfruit. Mira offered 1 cup to Solvin, who inhaled the scent with a small, pleased smile. "It smells lovely," he said, his voice still carrying a gentle stammer, but growing smoother each day. Mira beamed. Every small improvement felt like a victory for both of them. Mira began with simple conversation prompts written on carefully illustrated cards. The first card showed 2 friends sharing laughter. Underneath, the phrase read, "You make me smile." Solvan studied the words as if tasting them. Then he spoke, voice catching, "You make me smile." His words came slowly but surely, each one precise. Mira nodded encouragement and repeated the phrase more fluidly, placing her hand lightly on her chest to show sincerity. Solvan's cheeks glowed with violet warmth. Next, Mira showed him a card with a pair of hands reaching out. The phrase read, "I trust you." She explained that on Earth these words were powerful and built bonds. Solvan's brow furrowed. With concentration, he took a deep breath and spoke haltingly. "I trust you." Chris wavered, and Mira felt her heart tighten. These words were new to him, loaded with emotion. She smiled gently and said, "Yes, I trust you too," hoping to reassure him that vulnerability was safe here as they continued. A gentle breeze floated through the conservatory, stirring the glowing vines overhead. The light shifted, creating dancing patterns on Solvan's silver hair. Mira paused, enchanted by the moment. She suggested they practice unscripted dialogue. "Tell me about your favorite memory," she said softly. Solvan closed his eyes, the notebook forgotten in his lap. After a pause, he spoke in his rich, musical Aurelian tongue, then tried in common tongue. "I remember my mother's lullabies beneath the purple moon." His voice cracked slightly, and Mira's chest ached with empathy. Mira listened with rapt attention, offering a gentle nod each time he paused. When he finished, she translated a few phrases back into Aurelian, showing him how his feelings shone. Through even imperfect words, Solvan watched her face light up at each translation. He realized that his emotions mattered more than perfect grammar. He smiled shyly, and Mira felt a warm bloom in her heart. They ended the session by crafting a short, informal greeting together. Mira wrote a simple message on a fresh card. "Hello, friend. I hope you have a wonderful day." Solvan traced the words with the quill, then lifted his gaze. He recited the greeting smoothly, without hesitation. "Hello, friend. Hope you have a wonderful day." The words floated between them like a promise. Mira clapped softly, pride shining in her eyes. As Solvan stood to leave, he bowed deeply. Mira rose as well, meeting his gaze. He said, "Thank you for today." Mira replied, "Thank you for sharing your thoughts." He paused, then added, "I look forward to tomorrow." Mira's smile glowed brighter than the bioluminescent lights. Watching him depart, she felt a profound sense of hope. In that quiet conservatory, under the glow of alien blooms, 2 hearts from different worlds were learning to speak the same language of trust, laughter, and genuine friendship. Word of Prince Solvan as informal lessons with Dr. Myra Ellis spread through the marble corridors like a gentle breeze, till it reached the marble halls of the High Council. First, Solvan hardly noticed the whispers, so engrossed was he in learning to speak from his heart. But one morning, as he prepared for another session in the conservatory, Lady Ravi appeared at his door, her expression stern beneath the soft glow of the lantern. Solvan's pulse quickened. He remembered every rule he had ever learned about royal conduct. No unsanctioned company. Doubt curled in his chest like a coiled serpent. Lady Ravi's voice was low but firm. "The council has received reports of your unscheduled meetings," she said, "and they view them as a breach of protocol." Solvan's heart sank, pictured Mira's kind smile and the trusting light in her eyes. He wished he could explain how important these lessons were for his own growth and for forging true connections with humanity. Yet he knew the council prized perfection above sincerity. He bowed his head respectfully, though his shoulders trembled. That afternoon the council convened in the grand hall. Solvan stood before the carved dais, robes trailing like liquid moonlight. The council elder stall, stern figures in gleaming robes sat in a semicircle, their eyes reflecting duty and tradition. At their center sat Chancellor Viahare, who spoke without ceremony. "Your Highness, it has come to our attention that you have engaged in unbecoming conduct. Casual speech with an outsider undermines royal dignity and potentially endangers our alliances." His words echoed off the stone walls, cold and precise. Solvan's throat tightened. Dr. Mira Ellis's, summoned by royal decree, stood beside, the prince heart-pounding. She watched Solvan's posture tighten, his hands clenching at his sides. Gathering her courage, she stepped forward, lifting her voice with calm conviction. "Esteemed council," she began, "I come not to defy tradition, but to show that genuine understanding between our peoples can only grow through authentic conversation. When Solvan speaks from the heart, his words carry truth and warmth qualities that formal protocol alone cannot convey." Her simple words hung in the air, sincere and unadorned. A hush fell, where Chancellor Viare's gaze flicked to Myra, then back to Solvan. The prince exhaled, gathering strength from her support. He raised his chin and spoke softly. "I have learned that perfection without feeling can build walls between us. Through these lessons, I have found empathy and trust gifts I wish to share with both Aurelians and Terrans." His voice wavered, but his violet eyes shone with earnest light. The council stirred. Some faces softened, others remained impassive. After a moment that felt like the beat of 1,000 hearts, Chancellor Viahare inclined his head. "Very well," he said. "We grant you a trial period. Continue these lessons under my supervision. But be warned, any further breach of protocol will not be tolerated." Relief washed over Solvan like warm sunlight. Mira pressed his hand gently, and he squeezed back, gratitude shining in his gaze. The council's decision was a victory, not only for him, but for the promise of deeper bonds between their worlds. That evening, Solvan returned to the conservatory earlier than usual, anticipation fluttering in his chest. He found Myra tending to a cluster of nocturnal blossoms that glowed like lanterns in the dusk. She looked up and smiled when she saw him. "News?" she asked quietly. Solvan nodded, voice soft but steady. "The council has agreed. We may continue." Mira's eyes misted with joy, and she embraced him gently. In that embrace, they both felt the weight of tradition shift, making room for hope and genuine connection. Under the bioluminescent canopy, as vines shimmered overhead, Myra and Solvan sat together in quiet pride. They shared a simple cup of tea, their earlier fears already dissolving in the warmth of this triumph. The palace around them no longer felt like walls pressing in, but like the opening pages of a new story, one where sincerity could reshape customs, and where two worlds might find unity through the gentlest of words. Mira arrived at the palace gates just before sunrise, carrying a small basket of fresh bread and sweet Aurelian fruit. Morning air was cool and filled with birdsong. She walked through dew-kissed pathways toward the royal gardens, where she and Solvan had agreed to meet. Each step felt light with promise. Today they would explore beyond the conservatory and see parts of the palace he had never visited with a guest before. When Solvan emerged from a side entrance, his eyes lit up at the sight of Myra. He wore a simple travel cloak that brushed his ankles, and his silver hair caught the pale light. In his hand he held a delicate scroll of old maps, blue lines, tracing hidden paths through the palace grounds. He smiled shyly, offering her the maps. "I thought we could see places few know," he said. Mira's heart warmed as she took the scroll. They wandered through arches draped in jasmine, vines. The garden paths led them past sculpted fountains that whispered with water. Solvan paused at each carving, telling Mira its history in broken common tongue, then trying the sentences again until they flowed more smoothly. Mira listened with rapt attention, nodding and smiling as he improved. Each new word he spoke made her pulse flutter with pride and affection. At the edge of the gardens lay a hidden orchard of glowing fruit trees. The low branches bowed with sweet blue fruit that glowed softly in the dim light. Solvin plucked 2 fruits and offered one to Myra with a courteous bow. She ate it and sighed with delight at the sweet, star-bright flavor. Solvan laughed a rare, gentle sound, and Myra felt it ring like a bell in her heart. They climbed a short hill to reach the palace observatory, its domed roof etched with star maps. Inside, rows of crystal telescopes pointed toward the sky. Myra guided Solvan to a telescope aimed at Earth's morning star. When he peered through, his eyes widened. He whispered, "It is more beautiful than I imagined." Myra looked over his shoulder and saw the bright shining against velvet darkness. She squeezed his arm gently, and he turned to her with a shy smile. Sitting on a low bench beneath the telescope, they shared bread and fruit from Myra's basket. Solvan told her about Aurelia's twin moons, their different colors and tides. Myra spoke of Earth's oceans and moonlit beaches. Their words wove together like a tapestry of 2 worlds. Solvan's voice grew firmer with each sentence, and Myra felt a soft glow of joy at his progress. As the suns climbed higher, they walked to a quiet terrace overlooking a crystal lake. The water reflected the sky in perfect clarity. Solvan paused and turned to Myra. His violet eyes shone with emotion. "Thank you for showing me the world beyond rules," he said. Myra reached for his hand and squeezed it. "Thank you for trusting me," she replied. In that moment, words felt small compared to their shared feeling of wonder and trust. Before parting, Solvan led Myra to a hidden alcove carved into the rock face. Inside stood a simple stone bench facing the lake. The bench laid 2 engraved amulets, one shaped like a star, the other like a crescent moon. Solvan picked them up and pressed them into Myra's hands. "For you," he said softly, "to remember our journey." Myra clasped the amulet, tears of joy glimmering in her eyes. She placed her own amulet in his hand. "For you," she whispered. As they walked back through sunlit paths, Myra and Solvan felt a new bond between them, one crafted from laughter, trust, and shared discovery. Each step echoed with the warmth of friendship growing stronger. The palace gardens no longer felt silent and distant. They felt alive with life, hope, and the promise of many more adventures together. The Grand Summit Hall buzzed with quiet chatter as delegates from Earth and Aurelia gathered beneath towering arches. Polished crystal chandeliers cast soft light on marble floors, and banners of both worlds hung side by side. Myra sat near the edge of the dais, her heart fluttering like a hummingbird's wings. She watched Solvan as he adjusted his tunic, nerves flickering in his violet eyes. Today, he would speak not as a prince, but as a friend to 2 worlds. The Terran ambassador, Ambassador Chen, entered with measured steps, her dark hair gleaming under the lights. Soldiers in ceremonial dress flanked her, but her warm smile softened the formality. Solvan rose to greet her, standing taller than any earthly man. He bowed deeply, then straightened and spoke in clear, casual tone. "Hello, friend. Welcome to our home." The sudden informality rippled through the hall like a fresh breeze. Gasps and murmurs spread among the council members. Myra's breath caught in her throat. She remembered the hours of lessons, the stammers, and the triumphs. Now those small moments were about to shine before all. Solvan held the ambassador's gaze with gentle confidence. "I hope. Do you find comfort here?" he added, each word flowing smoothly. Ambassador Chen's eyes widened in pleasant surprise. Chen inclined her head and replied with a nod. "Thank you, Your Highness Solvan. Your welcome is warm and honest." She paused, then smiled at the delegates. "This openness honors us all." The delegates exchanged looks, surprised. That royal decorum could coexist with genuine kindness. A ripple of approval swept through the assembly, and Myra felt her chest swell with pride. During the formal address, Solvan spoke of unity and trust rather than protocol. His words were simple but heartfelt. "We stand together at a crossroads. Let us share our stories, our joys, and our hopes. For only when we speak from the heart can we build a future worthy of both our peoples." His voice rang clear, and even the most traditional council members leaned forward, drawn by his sincerity. As he spoke, Mira noticed tears glint in the ambassador's eyes. Hertz representative placed a hand on her heart, moved by the prince's warmth. Solvan's gentle gaze swept across the room, meeting Mira's with a silent thank you. In that moment, she felt the power of their shared journey, how far they had come from awkward stammers to genuine connection. After the speech, the hall fell silent for a breath. Then, applause erupted like a tide of hope. Legates rose too, their feet clapping and smiling. Some whispered praises of Solvanes's courage, others spoke of a new era dawning. Ambassador Chen stepped forward and offered a ceremonial gift, a delicate globe carved of interwoven metals. "May this remind us always," she said, "that our worlds, though different, are bound by our shared humanity." Sylvan accepted the gift with both hands, whispering softly, "Thank you." He then beckoned Mira forward. She joined him on the dais, her cheeks warm. The audience applauded again, honoring not just the prince, but the human who had guided him. Mira's heart thumped with joy and gratitude. She realized their friendship had become a bridge not only between them, but between two planets. Later, under the star-painted ceiling of the summit hall, Mira and Solvan walked side by side. The delegates had departed, but the promise lingered. In the air, the prince turned to Mira, his voice soft and sure. "Today, we spoke with truth. Today, we changed our world." Mira smiled, tears of happiness shining in her eyes. "Yes," she replied, "we did it together." Beneath the painted stars, two friends from distant worlds celebrated their victory of trust and friendship. Mira woke early, sunlight spilling across her chamber floor. Today marked the end of their private lessons and the beginning of something new. Her heart fluttered with both joy and a soft sadness. She dressed simply, choosing a pale blue robe that matched the morning sky. She carried the two engraved amulets, star and crescent, carefully wrapped in silk. Each step through the palace felt lighter, as if the walls themselves celebrated this final meeting. Prince Solvan awaited her in the rose courtyard, where dewdrops clung to petals like tiny jewels. He held a single white rose, its fragrance sweet on the cool breeze. His tunic was trimmed in soft gold, and sunlight made his silver hair glow. When he saw Mira, his lavender eyes brightened, and he stepped forward with a shy smile. Mira's chest tightened at the sight of him, both proud and tender. Without words, Solvan offered the white rose to Mira. She accepted it, her fingers brushing his. The soft touch sent warmth through both of them. He cleared his throat, gathering courage. "Mira," he began, voice steady and true, "these lessons have changed me. You helped me find my voice, my true voice." Tears gather, but she smiled, her own voice gentle. "And you gave me the gift of trust," she replied. "You showed me that friendship can cross any star." They walked together along a winding path beneath blooming arches. Silence wrapped around them like a warm cloak. Birds chirped overhead, and distant fountains sang their steady song. Mira held the amulet shaped like a star in her hand. Solvan carried the crescent. At a carved stone bench overlooking the palace lake, they paused. Solvan placed the crescent amulet in Mira's palm. "Keep this," he said softly. "It will remind you of our journey." Mira's fingers closed around the cool metal. She pressed it to her heart, voice trembling with emotion. "I will," she whispered. Then she retrieved the star amulet from her silk wrap and held it out to him. "And you must keep this," she said, "to remember that you can always speak from your heart." As he held the amulet, Solvan looked at the lake's mirrored surface. The twin suns shone like twin hopes on the water. He swallowed, then spoke with a tender strength. "Our worlds have grown closer through simple words and shared moments. I will carry your lessons into every speech, every meeting, every sunrise." Mira felt a joyful pride blooming in her chest. She reached out and gently touched his hand. For a moment they stood side by side, two figures against a glowing horizon. No royal formality separated them, now only to friends who had bridged galaxies through honesty and kindness. "Solvan, turned to Mira, violet eyes warm. "Will you continue to guide me?" he asked, his voice a soft stammer that held steadfast promise. Mira smiled through her tears. "Always," she said simply. "Always, my friend." They sat together on the bench, amulets resting in their hands, and watched the palace lake ripple in the light. Mira thought of the first day, when a casual question made a prince stammer, how she saw a leader who spoke with confidence and care. Solvan thought of every awkward phrase, every shy laugh. They had all led to this moment of true connection. As the suns climbed, palace staff began their daily duties, but none disturbed the quiet peace of the courtyard. In that gentle hour, time felt both infinite and fleeting. Mira and Solvan shared stories of future plans, diplomatic visits, shared gardens, and perhaps a joint library of stories. Each idea sparkled like starlight between them. Finally, Solvan rose and offered his hand. Mira took it, and together they walked back through the rose arches, toward the palace gates. Their footsteps were light, echoing with hope. Though their private lessons ended, their friendship was just beginning. Beyond those gates lay new challenges and triumphs, but they would face them together, armed with honest words and open hearts. As they passed the last arch, Solvan paused. He turned and bowed deeply, a gesture both royal and personal. "Thank you for everything," he said, voice filled with gratitude. Mira returned his bow with equal warmth. "Thank you for trusting me," she replied. Then, hand in hand, they stepped into the bright day, ready to speak a new chapter of unity. Between their worlds,